Hi everyone, welcome to the BrainFuse webinar recording for Stillwater Public Library in Oklahoma. Today we're basically going to go over all the different services that are offered within HelpNow. So your library has subscribed to both HelpNow and JobNow from BrainFuse. We're looking at the main HelpNow page right here. So this is our academic tutoring help option. The JobNow service, which we'll look at in a separate video, is our job search help service. So there we offer help with all aspects of the job search process. For this video today, though, we're going to focus on the HelpNow service. So this page right here, this will be accessed by your patrons by clicking on the link that's posted on your library's website. So they'll click on the link. Usually they're asked for a library card number for authentication. Once they enter that, they will get to this page right here that we're looking at. So the main point of the webinar today will be to go through all the different options that your patrons will have when they access the HelpNow service. So here on this page, we see all these different buttons. So I'm basically going to click on each of these and show you exactly how everything here works. So all the options we'll be looking at here on the main part of this page are essentially for students. So up through 12th grade, even some first and second year college level, we're happy to help with. For any adult learners at your library who are looking for academic tutoring help, we do offer that. And that is available here by clicking on the Adult Learners button at the top of the page. So that will take you to our Adult Learning Center, and we'll look at that also in a separate video. So we'll have a separate video for the Adult Learning Center. Today we're just going to focus on the main HelpNow page, which is right here. So here in the Expert Help section, we have 5 different buttons you can choose from. The first 2 are essentially our foundational services. So these involve connecting with one of our live tutors. For live help, students usually click here when they have a specific question they'd like to ask a tutor. Usually a homework question or a practice question. And then skills building on the right is for a student who has a skill or a topic that they're looking to get some help on. So they're learning how to multiply fractions in school, they're having some difficulty with it, they can go to skills building to get some extra help. So I'm going to click on the live help button here. To connect with one of our tutors, you just enter a grade level. So you'll see we have up through 12th grade and then college available as well. So you choose the topic, the grade level, and then you choose the subject. So we have these options available here. You'll see for the lower grade levels, if we choose something like 3rd, you'll just see the basic subjects listed. And then if you go up to 12th grade, you see a lot of higher level subjects available here. So you choose the one you'd like, and then click on the Get Live Help button to connect with a live tutor. Our live tutors are available from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. Local time, so Central Time, 7 days a week. So 2 to 11, 7 days a week, you can connect with our live tutors. All the other parts of our service that don't involve connecting with a live tutor, those are all available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The limited hours are just for live tutoring. You can also click right here if you'd like to get a Spanish-speaking tutor. So we'll look at a live session, but I'm going to go through all the different services that are offered first, and then we'll look at the live session at the end. So next to live help here, back on the main page, we have our skills building button. So to connect with a live skills building tutor, all you need to do is click on the button here first, and then this page will look very similar to the live help page that we just saw. So you just enter a grade level, and then a subject, and then there's one more drop-down menu here where you can select a specific skill to work on. So within 7th grade math, we have all of these skills available here. For each one of these skills you see listed, we have a corresponding lesson that we've created to go along with this subject. So if I choose, for example, using powers and exponents, I connect with a tutor by clicking on this button. That tutor will see that I requested to work on this subject, and they can load our lesson on that subject right into our online classroom and then look through that or work through that with the student. And again, you can get a Spanish-speaking tutor by clicking right here. Back here on the main page, our next option is the Writing Lab. So the Writing Lab will allow a patron or a student to send in a piece of writing that they're working on to have it reviewed by one of our writing tutors. So we have certain parts of our service here where you'll need to have a username and password to access them. And the Writing Lab is the first of these services. So for live help and skills building, you can just connect right away, and the system will give you a guest account and let you connect for a live session. There are some benefits to connecting with live tutors with a username and password, and I'll mention those a little later. but you're not required to have one. For the Writing Lab, though, you need a username and password. So when you click on the Writing Lab button, it'll take you to a page that asks you either to sign in, if you already have an account, or to create a new account. When you create that, the only two things you need to give us are a username and a password, and they can both be whatever the student wants. So you don't have to give us any personal information. It's just a username and password so that you can sign back into your own unique account to retrieve this document that we'll be sending back to you. So in the Writing Lab, you're sending a document to us. We'll review that. One of our tutors will review that and send it back to you. So that's all done through this username and password that you create. The account's totally free. It's separate from the library card number you need to enter first to gain access to the service. But again, it's totally free, and you only need it for certain parts of the service. So I'll try to point those out as we go. So for the Writing Lab right here, I've already signed in, so when I click on the Writing Lab button, it'll take me directly to the Writing Lab page. So I just follow the steps right here to send in a document to have it reviewed. So I'll attach a sample here that I have. Pretty much any standard document type can be sent to us. You then have a comments box right here where you can type out anything you'd like to say to the tutor. So you could type out what the assignment was or what specifically you're looking for help with. And then when you're ready to send that document in to us, you just click on the submit button right here. And then you see this message, which directs you to the message center. So these learning account features that we see here on the right side of the page, these are all specific to your account. So when you're signed in with that username and password you created, you'll see these options right here all the time. So these are all specific and customized for your account. So if I click on the message center right here, you'll only see documents that you've submitted within your account. So right here is the file we just sent in. So our tutor will review that, and then they'll send that back, and that will show up right here as well. So to retrieve our document, you'll sign back in and click on the message center, and you'll be able to open up the file that the tutor sends back to you. Our turnaround time from when the student sends in the paper to when we send it back is a maximum of 1 business day. However, if a tutor is available right when the student sends that in, the tutor might send the paper back an hour or 2 later. And even though we say 1 business day, if a student submits a paper on Friday night or Saturday morning, almost every time they'll get that back within 24 hours at the most. We just say 1 business day to be safe. So I have right here a sample document. So this is a sample of what the student will receive back when they receive the response from our tutor. So we always include our rubric form here on the top. That's what we're looking at right here. There's a number of parts to the rubric that the tutor will fill in with comments specific to that student's paper. If you scroll down further, you'll find the actual paper that the student submitted, and the tutor will include comments embedded within the student's paper as well. So the comments in the blue bold text here are from our tutor. So this is what a reviewed paper will look like. If we go back to the home page, right next to the Writing Lab that we just looked at, we have an option for Question Point. So Question Point works exactly the same way as the Writing Lab, except it's to send in any questions that a student might have. So if you click on the Question Point button, again, you'll need a username and password for this service because the student is sending in a question, and then we'll be sending back a response. So you just type in the grade level and the subject that your question is about, and you can type out the question here. You can also attach a file in number 3 if you have one, and then click on Submit. So that'll send that question out to our tutors, and again, one of them might work on it right away and send that response back quickly, but at most we'll respond within 1 business day. For questions sent in here, our tutors will never give out an answer, so they'll either give the student some hints or get the problem started, or most often, if it's a math problem, the tutor will work through a similar problem to show how that type of question is done. But they won't actually give the student the answer to their problem, their specific problem. Just like for the Writing Lab, when the tutor provides reviews there, the goal of their review is to give the student comments and suggestions for how to improve their paper, so the student can go back and make those changes on their own. The tutor's not trying to edit the paper for the student. So the student will have to take the tutor's comments into consideration and make their own changes. If we go back to the home page, next to the Question Point option, we have the Language Lab. So the Language Lab, is where a student will go if they're looking to learn the Spanish language. So they're looking for help with learning a verb tense, or some aspect of the Spanish language. So if you click on the Language Lab, the only option you'll see here in the drop-down menu is Spanish. So you can choose that, click on Get Live Help, and connect with a live tutor. We also had in the Live Help and Skills Building buttons, if I click on that, we have the little checkbox right here. You can also click on that to get a Spanish-speaking tutor, but this option here is usually used by a native Spanish speaker, so someone who wants to choose, for example, a math subject, and they're looking for help in that subject from a Spanish speaker. The Language Lab is for someone who's working on learning the Spanish language. So those are the options here in the Expert Help section. I'll move down now to the Study section, and our first option here is the Test Center. So the Test Center basically allows a student to take academic practice tests. It's another part of our service where you'll need a username and password. So you take a practice test here, those test results will be saved within your account, within that username and password that you created. So if I click on the Test Center button, you can choose on the left-hand side here from a grade level and then a general topic to take an academic practice test. We also have on the right-hand side ACT and SAT practice tests. So let's say, for example, I want to take an ACT math quiz. I choose that. I click on the Take a Test button, and you'll see right here is the ACT math quiz that was assigned to me. So this page is called your My Tests page. You can always click on My Tests here on the right-hand side to access this page. So your test results will also be saved on this page. So right here is a sample test that has been taken. So for this one, I can click on the name of it to look through the questions and see which ones I got wrong. You can also retake the exact same quiz by clicking on this button here. If you want to take a different ACT English quiz, you would just go back to the main Test Center page and request ACT English again. And if you've already taken quiz 1, the system will assign you a different quiz. If I want to go ahead and take this ACT math quiz I requested, I just click on it right here. It opens up in a separate window, and I can work through that test. A lot of students like to take one of our quizzes here, and then they'll log in with one of our live tutors, and our tutors are able to access that student's test results. So the tutor can go over the questions the student answered incorrectly with the student in our online classroom. So it's a great way for a student to practice. The tutor can do the same with a test from class as well, if the student uploads that document to the tutor. And I'll mention that in the online classroom, how you can upload something directly to your tutor. Back on the main page here, next to the Test Center button, we have Flashbulb. So this is an online flashcard service. It's great to help students with memorizing. So if they're trying to memorize vocab words or terms from a science class, something like that, they can go here to Flashbulb, enter their flashcards here by clicking on the Create Now button, and then they'll have a lot of options to help them with memorizing those cards. To enter your own cards here, you'll need a separate username and password just for Flashbulb. So the system will prompt you for that when you click on the Create Now button. We also have all these different topics available here. You can click on these and access sets of flashcards that have already been created. For the most part, these are just created by students though, so they may not be accurate. I'm going to go ahead and click on a topic here, let's say English vocabulary, and then I'll choose from one of the available sets of cards just to show you what one of these looks like. So this page right here is one set of flashcards. If you create one, or if one of your students creates one, they'll see a page that looks just like this. And you can click on all these different icons down here to do something different with those flashcards that'll help with memorizing. So the first button right here will just show me the cards, sort of like they would with hard copies of them. Here's the first word. I can click on it to flip it over and see the definition. If I know that one, I can put it in the correct pile. Let's say I don't know the next one. I can put it in the incorrect pile and then retry the ones that I didn't know. There's also a number of games down here you can play to help with memorizing. For example, the crossword puzzle option. The system creates a crossword puzzle using the words that I entered and using the definitions that I entered over here as the clues. There's a number of other games here as well. You can take a quiz or a test when you're ready to test your knowledge of those words. You can also print them out if you do want hard copies of the cards. So there's just a lot of options here, all designed to make memorizing a little bit easier for students. So we're back here on the main Help Now page. Those were the two options in the study section. Now down at the bottom, we have the collaborate section. So here we have Meet and Brainwave. I'm going to start with Brainwave on the right. So this one says, create and share movie-like notes and ideas. So essentially in Brainwave, you are given a smartboard where you can type out or draw whatever you'd like on the board, and then the system creates a video recording of that, and that video recording can actually be sent to somebody else. So the easiest way to explain Brainwave is just to show how one is created. So this is a sample one I created earlier. I can click on the Create a Brainwave button down here to create a new one. This window here tells me a little bit more about Brainwave, and I can click on Begin Recording down here when I'm ready to start. So we call this the Brainwave Notepad. It looks very similar to our online classroom when you're connected in a live session. So again, we'll see that in a few minutes. But basically right now, the system is recording. I can put whatever I'd like on the board. So let's say I have a multi-step math problem that I want to create a video recording showing how to solve it. So I can use our graph option to click and drag a graph onto the board. So that was right here, the graph option. It actually gives you the choice of a number line or a graph. And I'll go over these buttons in a little more detail in the live session when we do connect for that. But there's another option here for shapes. So I can click on the line option and add a line to the graph. And maybe I want to show how to find the slope of that line. So I can then click on our text button here and work on finding the slope of that line. So I could go through all the steps that are involved, adding anything to our drawing here. And it's a great little video recording of how to solve this particular problem. So when I'm finished, I click on Stop Recording. Let's say I name it Slope Demo. And then I click on Save. So that will save that brainwave right here, Slope Demo, the one we just created. So I can click on the play button, either here or over on the right, to play that recording. Or you can also click on the envelope icon right here, and that's how you'll send that video to somebody else. So you'll just have to enter their email address, and they'll receive a link to their email that they can click on to view that recording. So these can really be sent to anyone. They might be created by a tutor or a teacher and sent to students, or they could be created by a student and sent to a fellow student. And you can always click on your brainwaves option here on the right, and that will let you access this page that we're looking at right now. We also have a Brainwave Library tab here. So this lets you type in a keyword and then search to see if there are any brainwaves available on a topic that you're working on. These are just like the flashcards, though. They're mostly created by other students, so they may not be accurate. If we go back to the main page here, that was our brainwave option. Next to that, we have what we call Meet. So Meet essentially allows you to schedule an online meeting using our online classroom with whoever you'd like to invite to the session. So it works similarly to a regular live session with one of our tutors, like when you connect through Live Help or Skills Building, except for Meet down here, you're not connecting with our tutors. You're only connecting with the people that you invite to the session. So this might be used by students to host a study group, or again, it could even be used by a tutor from your town or a teacher to give us some extra help to students outside of the classroom. The options that you have when you're connected in one of these Meet sessions are very similar to the ones you have in a regular live session with our tutors. The way you schedule one of these Meet sessions is just by clicking on the button here. Then you type out the email addresses of the people you'd like to invite, put in the date and time, a brief description of the meeting, and then click on Send. So that will send an email containing a link to everybody whose email address you entered. They'll be able to click on that link and join the session. Only the person creating the meeting here will need a BrainFuse username and password. The people who are invited will just be able to click on the link that's sent to them and join the session. Here on the right side of the page, we have the calendar option. So when you have one of these sessions scheduled, you can click on calendar, and this is where it will show up. So right here is one that I created earlier. So I can click on the enter button if I want to start that session. We will look at this Meet session here and how that works, but I want to show you a regular live session with our tutors first because they're very similar. And then we'll look at this just so I can highlight the few differences there are between a regular tutoring session and a Meet session here. So if we go back to the home page, we've looked at most of these options here on the right. View past sessions I'll cover in just a minute when we connect for the live session. And I believe the My Cloud Pack option is the only other one that we haven't touched on. So My Cloud Pack is basically a storage device, as it says right here in the description. If you click on it, this blue window here will open up. So this is the first time this Cloud Pack has been used. So I might add some subfolders here. I could add one for English papers. Maybe I want to add another subfolder for math class notes. So you can add, as you can see, whatever folders you'd like here, and then you can upload documents and store them here in your Cloud Pack. So it works in one capacity, just as a backup storage device. But the nice thing about Cloud Pack is that once you have documents saved here, you can access them when you're connected in a live session and share them with a tutor that you're connected with. So again, I'll mention that when we connect for the live session. Okay, so those are basically all the options that your students or your patrons here will be able to click on. Again, the hours that will be listed down here at the bottom, when your patrons connect, it'll say 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. So you can disregard what it says here. When your students connect, it'll say 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. So the only other button here that we really haven't touched on yet is the Adult Learners button, again, which I mentioned at the beginning, that will be looked at in a separate video. So for right now, I want to go ahead and connect for a live session to show you how that works. So if I click on, for example, the Live Help option, you could also connect through the Skills Building option. But let's say I choose Live Help, and then I enter a grade level. Let's say I choose 8th grade, and then I choose Writing. When I'm ready to connect, I click on the Get Live Help button right here. So this is our online classroom here that's opening up. You'll always see the same online classroom here, no matter what subject you choose. So you'll see the same options that we're looking at right here. So for today, I've set this session up so that I'll connect with myself. I'm also logged in as a tutor. So you'll see the tutor's name here in parentheses and also listed over here in the participants box. So normally, the session would begin with a greeting from the tutor, and then the tutor would figure out what exactly the student needs help with. So again, this is just me connected as a tutor. So there's nobody here to greet the student. But if I wanted to type something back to the tutor, I would just click right down here, and I can go ahead and type. So most of the back and forth communication occurs down here in our instant messaging chat box. The audio feature here will always be deactivated when you're connected with our tutors. However, in a Meet session that we'll look at in just a few minutes, in one of those sessions, you will be able to use audio. So I'll mention that again when we connect in the Meet session. So we have the chat box here. The other main part of the online classroom is the whiteboard space here at the top. So if I chose a general subject that I needed help with, say it was multiplying fractions, the tutor could load our lesson on that topic into the whiteboard space here and then work through that with the student. And this can be used for other things as well. Our tutors have a number of resources that they can load into this area if it may help the student. But again, one of the most often used, one of the ways the whiteboard here is most often used is by a student who has a question they need help with. So, a math problem, a chemistry equation, something like that. So the student can type out their question on the board here, and then the tutor can help them work through that problem. So the way you'll type on the board is by using all these buttons along the left-hand side. So if you put your mouse over each one, you'll see a brief description of what that button does. So this works similarly to Microsoft Paint or another similar program to that. So I can choose the pencil and freehand draw. I can choose the eraser and erase. I can choose the ABC button and then click anywhere on the board. So whatever is being put on the board here will be visible to the tutor. And of course, anything the tutor puts on the board is visible to the student. So it's essentially like we're working on the same whiteboard. The font button will let me change the font style and size. Color wheel will let me change the color of the next thing I put on the board. So you'll see I can keep changing the color here. The copy and paste button is next. This one's very useful if a student is looking for help, like we signed in for in writing. The student might copy and paste part of a paper they're working on right onto the whiteboard here, and then tutor could help the student work through that and improve their writing. Anything that can be copied and pasted, though, can be done using this button. So if you have a math problem from an online source, something like that, that can also be pasted right onto the board. The line tool right here is great for underlining or drawing figures. Let me just change the color again. And next we have our graph or number line option. So if you choose the number line, you can click and drag that onto the board. Or if I choose the graph option, I can click and drag that onto the board. And you can double click on either of these icons here to change the X and Y values. Our shapes tool can be used to put lines onto a graph or to put some other basic shapes onto the board. The arrow is undo, so that will just remove the most recent thing you put on the board. The math button gives you a long list of math symbols if you need any for an equation you're working on. SCI does the same thing for science symbols. Then we have a superscript and a subscript button, and down at the bottom you can clear the entire whiteboard. Up at the top here we have a few additional options. So the print button here will let you print out the whiteboard. So if there's something on the board that was particularly helpful and you'd like to have a hard copy printout of it, you can use the print option. But you don't need to do that. I'm just going to minimize this for 1 second. And if we go back to the website here, we have our View Past Sessions option. So essentially all of your live tutoring sessions are automatically recorded and saved right here within your account. So you'll remember at the beginning I mentioned you don't need a username and password to connect with our live tutors, which is true. But if you connect with a guest account, your sessions are not automatically recorded and saved. This only occurs here if you have a username and password. So that's one of the benefits to connecting with a live tutor with a username and password. So you can essentially rewatch the video recording here of any of your past tutoring sessions. If we open up the online classroom again, let's say you do connect as a guest though, and then you have a very successful session. You can use this button right here. Click on that, type out your email address right here, and that will email a link to you that you can click on to view that session recording. Our description here is outdated and needs to be updated. It used to just send a log from the chat box, but now it actually sends the link to the entire session recording. So even if you connect as a guest, you can still get access to your recording. You just need to click on this button right here before you sign out of the session, and then that will email that link to you. This button right here lets you upload a document directly to the tutor that you're connected with. So if you need help on a paper you're working on, or you have a math worksheet you'd like to get some help with, any standard document type can be sent directly to the tutor you're connected with by using this button. And then here on the right, we have our Cloud Pak Explorer. So Cloud Pak was the storage device that I showed you back on the website. Any documents you've uploaded into your Cloud Pak can then be accessed by using our Cloud Pak Explorer button right here, and essentially they can be uploaded right onto our whiteboard. So you can share a worksheet with the tutor this way, or a paper you're working on, anything like that. So we have a few different options for sharing with your tutor, for sharing information or sharing documents. We have the Cloud Pak option, the Send File button, and also the Copy and Paste option will work as well. So that's how our online classroom works. I'm actually going to close that now. And then you'll see a survey pops up here, so your students can fill out the survey after each of their live sessions if they'd like to. If we go back to the home page, there's one final thing I'd like to show you. So we looked at Meet previously. So Meet was where you could schedule an online meeting with whoever you'd like to invite. So you do that right here on this page, and then once you have one of those scheduled, you click on the calendar option here on the right. So this is one that I scheduled earlier. So I can click on the Enter button right here to start this Meet session. So here the online classroom opens up. You'll see it looks almost identical to the one that we just looked at. There's only a few differences, which are some additional buttons here at the top of the page, and most of those you'll see are grayed out here and won't even be used. So it's only the moderator or the person who creates the session here who will see these additional buttons. Everybody you invite to the Meet session, so all the participants, they will see the exact same online classroom as the one we just looked at a couple minutes ago. So these Meet sessions, again, work very similarly to the live session that we just saw. There's just a few differences that I'd like to highlight. One of them is that you might be connected in a Meet session here, with 4 or 5 or more students who are having a study group to prepare for an upcoming test or something like that. Or it might be a teacher who's running the session to give some extra help to 2 or 3 students. So you can have more than just one tutor and one student in these sessions. So everybody who's connected will show up in the participants box down here. Then anything that's put on the whiteboard or typed in the chat box will be visible to everybody connected in the session. One of the other differences is that the audio option here will be activated. So if everybody has audio capabilities on their computer, the audio feature will work. You'll be able to speak back and forth and hear each other. And the final difference is that the moderator or the person who scheduled the session will have the option of clicking on each of the participants' names here in the participants box, and you can enable a private whiteboard for each student if you'd like to. It's a feature that will really just be used if the session is being run by a tutor or a teacher. So let's say it's being run by a teacher. They have 3 students signed in, and one of them is really struggling with the material. You can give a private whiteboard to that student, so it'll show up right up here next to our public tab here. So there'll be a separate tab labeled for that student, and then anything put on that tab will only be visible to the moderator of the session and that one student. So again, you'll have the public tab, which is visible to everybody, and the moderator of the session here will be able to switch back and forth between different tabs. And you might have a tab for every person connected in the session. So that's how our Meet sessions here work. That's also pretty much everything that I wanted to go over today. So those are all the options that your patrons will have when they access our regular HelpNow service. So again, we'll look at the Adult Learning Center and our JobNow service in separate videos. So thanks a lot to everyone for watching. Hope it was helpful. Have a great day.